I'm retired now, but I was a college professor.
Of?
Engineering.
Go home. Thank you, everyone. We'll let you know.
If you had 10 seconds to try to convince someone to watch the documentary, what you would say is it's about an 83-year-old man who answers a classified ad and becomes an undercover private detective's assistant in an old age home. Part of the comedy, at least at the beginning of the series, is just that. It's a guy who's not a PI, who's read a bunch of John le Carré novels, maybe, but is not a spy or a detective, trying to figure out how to be a detective or a spy. Everything that you do in the pilot, you have to know what it means for the rest of the series. You have to know what everything you're doing in the first episode. You only have 8 of them, and it tells a discrete story, and you have to know how it matters for the rest of the episodes. So in this pilot, I was like, look, you know, in a network sitcom, the pilot episode would have been Charles gets to Pacific View at the Act 1 break, right? It would have been like, let's go, let's go, let's go. In this case, I was like, we actually, for this premise, we have to do what amounts to sort of an episode 0, where you meet Charles and you learn what kind of person he is and what he's been through. And then there's a question of, will he take this job or not? And then he goes through that journey and he gets to the point where he doesn't think he can. And then he does. And then the pilot ends with him waking up on day 1 of the job. So it's almost a preamble, the pilot, to everything that happens. And the reason that you need that, I think, is because the series, at least the season, but I think really the series, should it continue, is really about his journeys. It's not about this case is one case that this guy will work on if we do more seasons. It's not, he's not going to be back at Pacific View if there's a season 2 because the case is over, right? So I felt very strongly that the first episode needed to be really all backstory, all filling in the gaps of who this guy is. Where is he emotionally? Where is he mentally? Before he does the bold thing of taking the job.
Interesting article about Chilean farming innovations.
That's great, Dad, but sending me newspaper clippings isn't a job.
You know, that's a little bit of a risk, frankly, because, you know, in the world of like, let's go, let's go, let's go, I was basically saying, like, don't worry, the fun part is coming. But for the first 25 minutes, I just need to explain who this person is, because if you don't know who he is, none of the stuff that happens to him will matter to you. It won't be affecting. It will just be broad and sitcom-y. And in order for us to get out the themes we wanted to get out about loneliness and about a sense of purpose and all that stuff, you first had to see that he was lonely and had no sense of purpose. So it was sort of a departure for me in terms of the way I thought of the pilot and the way we presented it. It was much more like, it was sort of like, it was gentle and presentational. And it was like, I need to tell you who this guy is before I tell you what happens to him.
Wanted. Man. 75 to 85. Skill with technology. Good with technology. Has a phone.
As far as the finale goes, like I said, I really wanted the case to be wrapped up at the beginning. And then I was like, what are the 3 biggest things that happened to him, and how do we show those things kind of wrapped up? And the first one was, we put a sort of meta mystery into the show very subtly. And the meta mystery was, his daughter Emily says at the beginning, you know, my mom and he had this big life and they had dinner and they had lots of friends, and then she died and he packed up all of her stuff and he put it in storage, and we've never talked about it since. And then she brings that up again a few episodes later, like, mom died and you packed up all her stuff and put it in storage, and we've never talked about it. And so it was a sort of, and he doesn't respond at that moment. And so there was this sort of little mystery where you thought, like, okay, I understand why he did that. He's shut down emotionally, and he's a sort of like neat and tidy guy. He's very fastidious, and he just wanted to put a lid on his emotions, quite literally, and shove them into a garage. And then at the end, you get the truth, which is that no, he didn't pack her up at all. She was packed up by the people who were going to move her into memory care because he had broken a promise to her to never put her in memory care. We laid that little tiny mystery emotionally underneath the main mystery.